The lantern of forgotten paths ****. The city of Eloria lay beneath a sky perpetually brushed with twilight, as though the sun itself had grown weary and chosen to linger just at the edge of the horizon. Its streets were narrow and winding, paved with stones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, each one carrying a story that the city itself had long since memorized. At the heart of Eloria rose the Tower of Whispers, an ancient spire of pale stone etched with symbols whose meanings had been lost to time. It was said that if one listened closely enough within its walls, the tower would reveal secrets of the past, the present, and fragments of the future, though only to those who truly sought to understand themselves. In a small, forgotten alley not far from the tower, a lantern flickered in the dark, though no one had lit it for decades. It was a simple object, unassuming, yet it emitted a glow that seemed alive, a rhythm that pulsed as though it were breathing. To the people of Eloria, it was nothing more than a curiosity, a remnant of superstition. But to Alara, a young woman who had recently arrived in the city, it felt like a call. She had been wandering for hours, following no path but instinct, drawn to the warmth of that light despite the chill of the evening. Her journey to Eloria had been one of escape and of searching. She carried no belongings but a small satchel with a few essentials, and in her mind, questions that had no clear answers. When Alara approached the lantern, she noticed that it seemed to shift slightly as she drew near, as if aware of her presence. Its light revealed a narrow doorway hidden behind a tangle of ivy, a passage that no map of Eloria had ever shown. Compelled by a mixture of curiosity and something deeper she could not name, Alara stepped through, and the world changed in an instant. She found herself in a corridor that stretched into darkness, walls lined with mirrors that reflected not her image, but fleeting visions of events long past. In one mirror, a young boy ran through fields of golden wheat, laughing as a hawk circled above him. In another, an old woman sat at a wooden table, her hands folded over a faded letter, her eyes heavy with unspoken sorrow. Each reflection was fleeting, gone in the blink of an eye, yet leaving an echo in her mind, a whisper of a story half told. Alara felt the weight of centuries pressing against her, each reflection a fragment of lives that had shaped the world she now walked on. As she continued deeper, she reached a chamber where the lantern floated in midair, suspended by no visible means. Its light was brighter here, illuminating a mosaic on the floor that depicted a labyrinth of interwoven paths. At the center of the mosaic, a figure knelt with arms outstretched, reaching for a glowing orb that hovered just beyond its grasp. A voice spoke, low and resonant, yet without origin. To walk the paths of the forgotten is to walk the edge of your own truth. Choose carefully, for each step you take will alter what you believe to be certain. Alara knelt before the lantern, her reflection no longer in the mirrors, but in the light itself. She felt a pulse from the orb, as if it were alive, responding to the heartbeat in her chest. Without understanding why, she reached out, and the moment her fingers brushed the surface of the lantern, the chamber dissolved. She stumbled forward into a landscape that was neither night nor day, a place suspended between realities, where colors shifted with thought and the air carried the scent of distant memories. In this new realm, she met others, figures who seemed both familiar and foreign. There was Kale, a man with eyes like molten gold, who spoke in riddles that left her both frustrated and intrigued. There was Lyra, whose laughter seemed to resonate with the ground itself, a sound that could heal the ache of loneliness with a single note. Each carried their own lanterns, each searching, each lost in a maze of their own making. Alara soon discovered that the lanterns were more than mere light. They were guides, embodiments of choices made and unmade, reflections of desires and fears. Each step she took illuminated a fragment of her past she had tried to forget, a memory she had buried under layers of certainty. The labyrinth shifted around her, not in structure, but in essence. It responded to intention, to honesty, to the courage of facing truths one had long evaded. One path led her to a bridge suspended over a chasm where the ground was a mirror of starlight, reflecting constellations that did not exist. As she crossed, Kale appeared beside her, silently observing. "The lanterns show what you carry within," he said, "but the path will not reveal everything. Some truths must be discovered in the act of living them." Alara realized that the bridge was a test, not of courage, but of recognition, acknowledging the depth of what she feared most, the emptiness left by unanswered questions, by connections she had lost, by moments she had overlooked. She felt the pull of the lantern in her hand, guiding her, yet allowing her to choose which memories to confront. With each step, the light grew warmer, the air denser with meaning. As she reached the center of the bridge, a vision unfolded, a younger version of herself, standing at a crossroads long forgotten. There were two paths, both promising different futures, yet neither without challenge. The vision spoke without words, conveying the gravity of choices once made and those yet to come. Alara understood that her journey was not about avoiding mistakes or seeking answers from others. It was about embracing the entirety of her existence. The woven tapestry of decisions, regrets, joys, and revelations. The lantern pulsed once, a heartbeat echoing through the realm. And then she was elsewhere, in a garden bathed in perpetual twilight, where flowers glowed with an inner luminescence and a gentle wind carried whispers of past travelers. Lyra appeared there, tending to a tree whose roots seemed to reach into every memory she had ever held. "The lantern does not belong to you," Lyra said softly. "It belongs to the path itself. It will guide those who listen, but it will challenge those who seek it for comfort alone." Alara spent what felt like hours or perhaps moments walking among the glowing flora, each step revealing truths she had denied, moments of connection she had overlooked, and choices she had yet to understand fully. She began to sense that the lantern was not simply a light but a mirror of her own perception, a catalyst for introspection that demanded honesty. Even when it was difficult. In the distance, the Tower of Whispers rose again, though its form was unfamiliar. Refracted through the prism of this reality, its spire stretched infinitely, touching both earth and sky in impossible ways. Alara felt drawn to it, knowing that her journey would not end until she had climbed its heights, faced the echoes within, and understood the intricate interplay between destiny and choice. Kale appeared beside her once more, his expression unreadable. "Every traveler leaves a mark," he said. "Some see it as guidance, others as burden. You will know which only when the lantern's light reflects upon what you truly carry inside." Alara tightened her grip on the lantern, feeling its warmth seep into her very core. She realized that this journey was not about finding a destination, but about walking with intention, embracing the complexity of existence, and acknowledging that every path, no matter how twisted or uncertain, was part of a greater story she was only beginning to understand. A soft glow emerged from the lantern, brighter than before, illuminating a doorway carved into the base of the tower. Its edges shimmered, neither fully real nor entirely imagined. Stepping toward it, Alara felt a mixture of anticipation and fear, knowing that beyond this threshold lay revelations that would challenge everything she thought she knew. The lantern pulsed in sync with her heartbeat, guiding her forward, a beacon for those willing to confront the labyrinth of their own lives. As she crossed the threshold, the world shifted once more, and Alara understood that the path of the lantern was endless, a journey of discovery that required courage, patience, and unwavering attention. The Tower of Whispers loomed above, its secrets beckoning, and the lantern, her constant companion, glimmered with the promise that every step taken in awareness brought clarity, growth, and a deeper connection to the invisible threads that bound all lives together. And in that suspended moment between twilight and night, between certainty and the unknown, Alara knew that the story had only just begun. The lantern would not reveal all its truths at once. It demanded time, persistence, and a willingness to confront the echoes of the past while walking boldly toward the unwritten future. The city of Eloria, beneath its eternal twilight, held countless lanterns, countless paths, and countless stories. But for Alara, the glow she carried was singular, a light born of intention and courage, illuminating not just the way forward, but the depths of herself she had never truly seen. The journey awaited, the labyrinth shifted, and the lantern of forgotten paths shone brighter with every heartbeat, inviting her and all who dared to step forward into the realm where memory, choice, and destiny intertwined. The chamber beyond the doorway was vast and impossibly high, its ceiling lost in a haze of shifting light that seemed to hum with the pulse of the world itself. Alara felt the weight of silence press against her ears, a presence that was neither oppressive nor comforting, but insistent in its quiet. The lantern in her hand shone steadily, casting shadows that stretched and danced along walls adorned with intricate carvings, symbols she could not comprehend, yet somehow recognized deep within her memory. They were the language of choices, the record of decisions etched not in stone, but in essence, and they seemed to watch her as she moved forward. Her steps echoed across the polished floor, each sound a ripple in the stillness. She noticed faint footprints beside her own, as if someone or something had walked here recently, guiding her path. The air was thick with the scent of rain on stone, a reminder that some memories could be carried across worlds, persistent even when one thought they were gone. And then she heard it, a soft whisper, barely audible, yet unmistakable. The path is only yours when you see it fully. Turning, she found herself facing a series of arches, each one framing a scene that shifted as she approached. In one, a young boy played at the edge of a river, the water shimmering with the light of countless lanterns suspended above. In another, a woman sat upon a bench in a courtyard, tracing the edges of an old journal with trembling fingers, her eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and fear. Alara understood, in that moment, that each arch was a choice, a portal into a story that could intertwine with her own. Without fully understanding why, she stepped through the first arch. The ground beneath her shifted, and she found herself in a forest where the trees glowed faintly, their leaves humming with a gentle vibration. The lantern in her hand reacted instantly, its light stretching toward the tallest tree, revealing a spiral staircase carved into the trunk, twisting upward into a canopy of stars that seemed to float above. She climbed, each step resonating with her heartbeat, the forest below receding into the faint glow of twilight. At the top, she emerged onto a platform that hovered above the canopy, where the stars reflected in pools of water that floated in the air like suspended mirrors. Kale was there, as if he had been waiting, his golden eyes observing her with quiet intensity. "The lantern has chosen its guide," he said, his voice carrying a subtle echo, "but the journey is yours alone. You must decide how to walk it, and what to carry with you." Alara looked around, absorbing the surreal beauty of the place. Each reflection in the floating pools revealed moments from her life, small fragments she had dismissed, interactions she had ignored, feelings she had buried. And yet, the lantern pulsed more strongly with every recognition, illuminating connections she had never considered. It was not just a light. It was a mirror of insight, a revelation of the interwoven threads of her existence. As she stepped from platform to platform, she discovered that the pools also held glimpses of others, Kel's memories, Lyra's laughter-filled moments, the lives of those who had walked similar paths before her. Each reflection was precise and vivid, yet intangible, urging her to understand that the lantern's purpose was not to provide answers, but to illuminate the depth of perspective. "Do you see it?" Kale asked, stepping beside her. "The past is not only a place you left behind. It is a bridge, a network of light, waiting for recognition." Alara nodded, though words seemed insufficient. The bridges between the pools grew thinner, requiring focus and trust. She realized that the journey demanded both courage and humility. With each careful step, she sensed the lantern's glow intensifying, resonating with her own intentions, responding not to fear but to awareness. One pool revealed a memory of her childhood home, where the walls had been painted with the colors of summer skies. Her younger self laughed freely, chasing a butterfly across the sun-drenched garden. She remembered the joy, the innocence, and the sense of endless possibility, and felt the bittersweet ache of distance, not loss, but the inevitable evolution of life. The lantern pulsed warmly, affirming that these recollections were not weights to carry, but fragments to understand. Another pool showed a moment of hesitation, a choice she had avoided making in her adolescence, whether to speak truth or silence in the presence of someone she admired. The regret lingered, subtle yet persistent. As she gazed into the reflection, she understood that even unmade decisions were vital threads, shaping her path in ways unseen. The lantern's glow shifted, now brighter in her hands, yet almost heavy with the gravity of comprehension. Hours or perhaps moments passed, and Alara felt herself drawn toward a distant archway that shimmered with an almost unbearable brilliance. Its light was not soft or inviting. It demanded attention. She approached, and as she stepped through, she entered a chamber where time seemed folded upon itself. Shadows of countless travelers moved in patterns that overlapped, their lanterns glowing, crossing paths yet never colliding. Among them, she glimpsed fragments of herself, past versions caught in loops of indecision and curiosity. Kale appeared once more, though now his figure flickered, as if existing in multiple moments simultaneously. "The lantern shows the unseen," he said, "not just what has been, but what might be. Every path reflects choice, but choice alone does not illuminate meaning. That is your task, to perceive, to integrate, to become." Alara understood that the chamber was a test of perception, not skill. Each step she took altered the flow of light, subtly shifting the reflections of others, and revealing that the labyrinth was alive, aware, and responsive. She began to experiment, moving with intention, observing the ripple of consequences. Patterns emerged, threads of connection, loops of repetition, glimpses of harmony and discord. The lantern guided, but it did not dictate. It asked, instead, for discernment and courage. Eventually, she arrived at a central pool, larger than any she had seen, its surface perfectly still. In it, she saw herself not as she was, but as she could be, integrated, aware, balanced, carrying the knowledge of past and present without being bound by either. She reached toward the reflection, and the water rippled, pulling her vision inward. The lantern in her hands shone with extraordinary brilliance, as if recognizing that she had achieved a moment of understanding. And yet, the voice of the labyrinth whispered, "The path continues. Awareness is not the end, but the beginning. There are layers yet untraveled, connections yet unseen, truths yet unspoken." Alara felt a mixture of exhilaration and apprehension. The chamber seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting, revealing further passageways, each glowing faintly with the promise of discovery. She understood that the journey was infinite, each step both conclusion and commencement. With a deep breath, she stepped forward into the next corridor, lantern held aloft, ready to confront what lay ahead. The twilight of Eloria lingered in the distance, faint yet persistent, reminding her that the world she had left behind was intertwined with the realm she now navigated. Choices made in one reality echoed in the other, subtle yet profound. The labyrinth was not merely a place of reflection, it was a crucible of growth, testing not strength or skill, but awareness, intention, and the courage to perceive truth without judgment. As Alara walked, she noticed that the figures of other travelers became clearer, not obstacles but companions, reflections of journeys parallel to hers. Some paused to acknowledge her presence, others moved silently, unaware of her path. She realized that the labyrinth connected more than just moments, it connected lives, weaving them into a pattern of light, insight, and potential. And through it all, the lantern pulsed, unwavering. It was a constant reminder that illumination required engagement, that the glow of understanding came not from the absence of darkness, but from the courage to carry light through it. With each step, Alara felt herself changing not in appearance, but in perception, attuning to the rhythms of the labyrinth, understanding its subtle language, and embracing the responsibility of walking its paths with awareness. At last, she reached a spiral staircase descending into a chamber veiled in a soft, silver mist. The air was dense with memory and possibility, a space where past and present converged. The lantern responded immediately, its light weaving through the mist like a thread of guidance. As she descended, she felt the weight of countless choices pressing against her. Yet instead of fear, there was clarity, a recognition that each step was part of a story far greater than she had imagined. At the base of the staircase, the mist parted to reveal a circle of glowing stones, each inscribed with symbols she now understood as expressions of potential, pathways waiting to be explored. Kale stood at the center, his eyes calm, almost tender in their intensity. "The journey is yours," he said. "The labyrinth waits, but it will respond only to those who walk with purpose and honesty. You carry the lantern, and through it, the power to illuminate not just the path, but the understanding of what lies within." Alara stepped into the circle, feeling the energy of the stones resonate with the lantern. The pulse of light was synchronized with her heartbeat, steady and assured. She knew that ahead were trials of perception, moments demanding courage, and revelations that would challenge her understanding of self and reality. Alara moved forward from the circle of stones, each step resonating with the soft hum of the labyrinth. The air thickened, filled with the scent of rain-soaked earth and faint whispers of voices she did not recognize but somehow knew. The lantern in her hand pulsed steadily, its glow responding to her thoughts and intentions. She realized that the labyrinth was no longer just a place, it was alive, a consciousness intertwined with every memory, every choice, every heartbeat of those who walked within it. Ahead, a corridor stretched into shadow, its walls carved with scenes that shimmered and shifted. Some depicted triumphs, others failures, moments of connection, moments of isolation. As she approached, she saw that the figures in the carvings were not static, they moved, acted, and reacted, as though the walls themselves remembered and replayed the lives of those who had crossed this path before her. Alara felt the pull of curiosity and trepidation in equal measure. Each step could reveal truths she might not be ready to face. A figure appeared at the corridor's entrance. It was neither Kale nor Lyra, yet there was a familiarity in its presence. The stranger's eyes held the depth of centuries, a quiet awareness that seemed to pierce through the layers of her mind. The labyrinth is patient, the figure said, voice echoing softly. It offers guidance, reflection, and illumination, but never mercy. Each step is a choice, each choice a revelation. Are you ready to see yourself truly? Alara nodded, gripping the lantern tighter. The glow intensified, casting long, wavering shadows along the walls. As she stepped forward, the corridor seemed to expand, elongate, folding in on itself like a river of light and memory. She realized that the labyrinth was testing her perception, stretching the limits of her understanding. Every memory that surfaced was vivid, tactile, almost tangible. She felt the laughter of her childhood, the ache of abandoned opportunities, the warmth of fleeting connections she had once overlooked. She paused before a carving of a bridge over a river of stars. The bridge was narrow, its edges fraying into darkness. On the opposite side stood a version of herself, stronger, wiser, yet strangely distant. To cross, whispered the figure, you must acknowledge what you have carried, and what you have left behind. Only then can the lantern guide you forward. Alara inhaled, feeling the pulse of the lantern sync with her heartbeat. She stepped onto the bridge, each movement deliberate, each step a meditation. The stars beneath her feet shimmered and shifted, reflecting memories she had long ignored, the small kindnesses she had given and received, the moments of courage she had overlooked, the decisions she had postponed. The bridge tested not balance, but introspection, demanding that she confront herself with honesty and clarity. Midway, the reflection of her older self spoke without words, conveying understanding and compassion. Alara realized that the labyrinth was not seeking to trap her or challenge her for sport. It sought to teach, to reveal the intricate patterns of life, choice, and consequence. With each step, she felt a growing awareness of the interconnectedness of all paths, the ripple of decisions across time and space, and the subtle guidance of the lantern that illuminated not just the world around her, but the depths of her own perception. On the other side of the bridge, the corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with floating lanterns, each one glowing with a soft, ethereal light. The air vibrated with energy, carrying whispers of past travelers, fragments of journeys both completed and abandoned. Alara felt the presence of countless lives woven into the fabric of this place, each lantern a beacon of choice and awareness. Lyra appeared among the floating lights, her laughter gentle and warm. The lantern you carry, she said, is not merely a guide. It is a reflection of your intent. It reveals what you are ready to see, and sometimes what you are not. To walk this path is to engage fully with life, memory, and possibility. Alara stepped among the floating lanterns, feeling their warmth brush against her skin, their light mingling with that of her own. She understood that the labyrinth was no longer a passive realm. It was a mirror, a crucible, a teacher. Each lantern responded to her awareness, illuminating choices and moments that demanded reflection. Some she embraced with ease, others required courage she had not yet summoned. Yet with every step, the labyrinth expanded, revealing deeper layers of connection and insight. In the center of the chamber floated a particularly bright lantern, suspended above a shallow pool of liquid light. Its glow was mesmerizing, almost overwhelming, yet she felt an irresistible pull. As she reached for it, the chamber shifted. The pool reflected not her current self, but a tapestry of potential selves, paths she might take, choices she might make, and outcomes she had yet to experience. The lantern's light merged with her own, and in that moment, she perceived the labyrinth's essence, a network of possibility, choice, and reflection. Infinite in its complexity and beauty, Kale appeared beside her once more, his figure partially translucent, like a memory intertwined with the present. The lanterns, he said softly, do not simply illuminate paths. They reveal understanding. Each reflection is a teacher, each step a lesson. To continue, you must integrate what you see, accept the weight of perception, and walk with intentionality. Alara closed her eyes, allowing the light to wash over her. Memories and possibilities intertwined in her mind, forming patterns she had never noticed. She saw her own growth mirrored in the lives of others, the echo of choices she had made and those she had yet to confront. The lantern pulsed in her hands, steady and alive, guiding her toward comprehension. When she opened her eyes, the chamber had changed. The floating lanterns now formed a path, a corridor of light leading upward toward a distant spire that seemed impossibly high, touching both earth and sky. The air vibrated with expectation, and Alara understood that the journey was far from over. The labyrinth had revealed fragments of insight, but greater understanding awaited at the heights beyond. She stepped onto the path, feeling the weight of the lantern, the pulse of the labyrinth, and the resonance of her own heart. With each movement, the light expanded, revealing glimpses of unseen corridors, hidden chambers, and memories yet unexamined. The journey demanded presence, courage, and unwavering attention, and Alara felt herself rising to meet it. And as she ascended, the labyrinth whispered softly, a promise that the paths of the forgotten were endless, yet filled with illumination. Every step forward was a step deeper into understanding, not only of the labyrinth, but of herself, and the infinite threads connecting all who walked the illuminated paths. The lantern's glow, steady and vibrant, beckoned her onward, guiding her through the twilight of possibility toward the revelations that awaited at the summit of understanding. The ascent was slow, deliberate, each step on the path of floating lanterns in negotiation between caution and trust. The light beneath Alara's feet responded to the rhythm of her heartbeat, pulsing with an intelligence that was both foreign and intimate. The labyrinth, she now understood, was not merely a place to traverse. It was a living archive, a repository of choice, memory, and possibility. Every step forward revealed not just new scenery, but new facets of herself she had yet to recognize. Above her, the spire stretched into an impossibility, its tip disappearing into mist that shimmered with the reflected light of countless lanterns. Alara felt a mixture of awe and apprehension. The journey had revealed so much already, echoes of forgotten kindnesses, decisions long ignored, moments she had thought lost, but the summit promised deeper truths. She understood instinctively that to reach it would require more than courage. It would require surrender to the labyrinth's rhythm, a willingness to accept its lessons fully. A sudden shift in the light drew her attention. Before her, a mirror formed in the air, its surface fluid, reflecting not her physical form but her inner state, doubt, fear, hope, and courage interwoven in a complex tapestry. The lantern pulsed more rapidly, its glow resonating with the reflection. Alara reached toward it, and the mirror rippled like water. She felt herself pulled into the reflection, transported into a space that existed outside of linear time, where moments from her past, present, and potential future overlapped and intertwined. Here, she encountered a version of Kale who was different from the one she had known, a guide shaped by choices he might have made, eyes reflecting not certainty but curiosity. The labyrinth, he said, voice soft yet insistent, is not about destination. It is about perception. What you see is shaped by what you accept, and what you accept shapes the path forward. Are you ready to perceive truth without the comfort of certainty? Alara nodded, feeling the lantern's light intensify. She understood that this was not a question of bravery in the conventional sense, but of honesty, a willingness to confront every fragment of herself, even those long buried. The mirrored space shifted again, revealing scenes of her life she had forgotten or dismissed. A small act of kindness toward a stranger, a moment of courage in silence, an unspoken thought that had influenced countless interactions, all shimmered with importance she had never recognized. Beyond these reflections, a new path opened, a narrow ridge of stone that spiraled upward into clouds glowing with pale light. The air was charged, electric yet soothing, carrying faint echoes of laughter, conversation, and song from lives she had never met but somehow understood. Each step on the ridge was a negotiation with balance and awareness. The lantern's glow guided her, illuminating both the solid path and the gaps of uncertainty. As she ascended, she noticed subtle changes in the rhythm of the labyrinth. The floating lights now formed patterns, fractals that pulsed in harmony with the lantern. They created a map of possibility, but one that required interpretation, intuition, and trust in herself. It became clear that the labyrinth did not merely reflect reality. It responded to perception, to engagement, to the courage to explore both light and shadow within and without. At the apex of the ridge, she reached a platform that hovered above the clouds. Here, the labyrinth opened into a space of breathtaking vastness. Lanterns floated in every direction, forming constellations that seemed to carry messages encoded in light and shadow. The air hummed with energy, vibrating in harmony with the lantern in her hand. Alara felt the weight of the labyrinth's wisdom pressing gently against her consciousness. Understanding was not a possession, but a state of engagement, a dialogue between self and world, between choice and consequence. A figure approached through the glow. It was Lyra, her presence radiant yet calm, a reminder that connection and compassion, were as vital to the journey as insight and perception. "You have walked far," she said, voice echoing as though carried on the wind itself. "The summit is not a goal, but a threshold. Beyond it lies clarity, but only for those willing to reconcile all facets of themselves, light, shadow, and everything in between. The lantern is your companion, not your crutch. What will you carry forward?" Alara felt the question resonate deeply. She realized that the lantern had illuminated not just paths, but patterns of thought, moments of choice, and the subtle interplay of presence and intention. To continue, she needed to integrate these lessons, to recognize that illumination was a product of engagement, not mere observation. She took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the lantern in sync with her own heartbeat, and stepped toward the final ascent. The clouds parted as she moved, revealing a staircase formed entirely of light. Each step reflected memories she had embraced and moments she had yet to understand. She noticed reflections of others who had walked similar paths, their experiences interwoven with her own. The labyrinth was teaching her that understanding was relational, a tapestry of consciousness that extended beyond the individual, connecting lives, choices, and intentions in patterns both visible and unseen. At the top of the staircase, the spire opened into a chamber unlike any she had encountered. The walls shimmered with an iridescent light, alive with the pulse of the labyrinth itself. In the center floated a sphere of pure luminescence, reflecting not a single moment, but the totality of existence, past, present, potential. Alara approached, the lantern in her hand glowing brighter, resonating with the sphere as though recognizing its kinship. Kale appeared beside her once more, his expression calm, almost reverent. "The labyrinth has guided you," he said. "You have learned to perceive without clinging, to navigate without certainty, to carry the light without being consumed by it. The sphere reflects the totality of the paths, but the choice of focus of meaning remains yours. What will you see, and what will you carry beyond?" Alara extended the lantern toward the sphere, and a radiant connection formed, linking the two sources of light. A surge of understanding swept through her. The labyrinth, the lantern, the lives and choices she had witnessed, they were not separate. They were threads of a single, infinite tapestry. Each decision and perception a note in a vast symphony of existence. She realized that the journey was not about reaching the summit, nor about discovering secrets hidden from the world. It was about walking with awareness, engaging with possibility, embracing connection, and honoring the intertwining of all paths. The lantern had guided her, but it was her perception, courage, and compassion that had illuminated the true nature of the labyrinth. As she stood in the radiant chamber, Alara felt the pulse of the labyrinth merge with her own, a rhythm that was both personal and universal. The spire above shimmered, extending beyond comprehension, hinting at further journeys, further discoveries. And in that moment, she understood that the lantern's light would continue to guide her, not because it dictated the path, but because it reflected the courage and clarity she carried within. The labyrinth whispered softly, a promise and a challenge. The paths of the forgotten were endless, yet each step taken with awareness, intention, and courage illuminated the infinite network of connections that bound all lives together. With the lantern in her hand, steady and alive, Alara took the first step beyond the chamber, ready to continue her journey into the unknown, guided not by certainty, but by perception, reflection, and the unwavering light of understanding. Alara stepped beyond the radiant chamber, and the world shifted once more. The spire above seemed to dissolve into threads of light that stretched infinitely in all directions, while below, the labyrinth unfolded like a living map of memory and possibility. The lantern in her hand pulsed steadily, illuminating a path that was neither straight nor predictable, twisting and turning through spaces that shimmered between the real and the imagined. She understood now that the labyrinth responded to her perception, to the depth of her awareness, and that each step she took shaped not only her journey but the subtle patterns of everything around her. The path led her to a hall lined with arches, each one framing a different scene, vibrant and alive. In one, a marketplace thrummed with motion and sound, people engaged in simple gestures of generosity and curiosity. In another, a quiet forest hummed with the resonance of unseen life, a harmony of whispers, rustling leaves, and the steady heartbeat of the earth itself. Alara realized that the labyrinth was not merely reflecting her past, it was revealing connections, echoes, and possibilities she had never considered. Every scene was alive, every choice a thread in the tapestry she was learning to see. She paused at a mirror framed by vines of glowing silver. Her reflection shimmered, not as she was, but as she might become. The figure in the glass smiled softly, an echo of her own courage and understanding. The lantern, it whispered, illuminates not only the path but the self. To walk truly is to perceive both, and to carry the knowledge forward without being burdened by it. As she touched the surface, the mirror rippled, transporting her to a narrow bridge over a river of light that stretched endlessly in both directions. The river pulsed with the memory of countless choices, some forgotten, some celebrated, each influencing the labyrinth in subtle ways. Walking along the bridge required precision and awareness. The lantern's glow revealed the solid ground, yet beyond its light lay uncertainty. Each step was a negotiation, a balance between insight and instinct. Midway, she saw a vision of herself hesitant, uncertain, yet deeply determined, standing at a crossroads she had once avoided in her life. The memory was vivid, a thread she had ignored for years, but now it pulsed with significance. The lantern's light intertwined with the vision, illuminating the reasons she had turned away and the courage she had yet to embrace. Alara understood that the labyrinth was asking her not to judge, but to integrate, to see the patterns of avoidance and courage as parts of a whole, neither shameful nor perfect, simply essential. At the bridge's end, the path opened into a vast garden suspended in twilight, its flora glowing with a faint, inner luminescence. Trees arched over pathways like guardians, their leaves vibrating with unseen energy. The ground shimmered as though dusted with starlight, and the air carried the echoes of laughter, song, and quiet reflection. Among the trees, figures moved, travelers of the labyrinth, perhaps, each engaged in their own exploration, their lanterns casting pools of warm light that mingled with her own. Lyra appeared at her side, her presence gentle and grounding. "The lantern," she said, "does not merely reveal paths. It reveals the nature of your journey, and the echoes of all who have walked before you. Every light is connected, every step matters. Understanding is not an endpoint, but a constant unfolding." Alara walked among the glowing flora, feeling the pulse of the labyrinth in her chest, in the tips of her fingers, and in the lantern she carried. The paths here shifted subtly as she moved, responding to intention, awareness, and honesty. Every curve revealed a new layer of insight, a choice she had made that rippled through her life, a forgotten kindness, a moment of hesitation now reframed as clarity. She realized that the labyrinth was not static, it was alive, evolving with every step, every recognition, every interaction. A gentle wind stirred, carrying the scent of distant rain and the faint resonance of voices she did not know but understood. Ahead, a spiral staircase formed from branches of silver and gold ascended toward a faintly glowing dome, the light at its peak flickering like a heartbeat. Alara felt drawn upward, knowing instinctively that this ascent was not mere movement, but a continuation of the labyrinth's teaching. Each step demanded presence, each breath demanded attention. As she climbed, the staircase revealed glimpses of travelers she had met along the way, Lyra, and figures she could not name, each moving through their own trials, each illuminated by the lanterns they carried. She understood now that the labyrinth connected lives, weaving experiences into a network of awareness that transcended space and time. Each encounter was a mirror, each step a lesson, and the light of the lantern intertwined with countless others, forming a living constellation of guidance and reflection. At the top of the staircase, she emerged into a chamber bathed in soft, white light. The walls shimmered with energy, alive with the rhythm of the labyrinth itself. In the center floated a pedestal, and upon it, a lantern unlike any she had seen, larger, brighter, its light full of movement, as though carrying the pulse of countless journeys. Alara approached, feeling the resonance with her own lantern intensify. Kale appeared beside her, silent for a moment, then spoke. "This is not an end. It is a threshold. The lanterns you carry illuminate the paths, but they also reveal the responsibilities you hold. Awareness, presence, and the courage to perceive what is hidden, both within and without. To step forward is to accept the labyrinth's challenge to move not merely as a traveler, but as a guide and witness." Alara extended her lantern toward the glowing beacon. As the lights merged, she felt a surge of clarity. The labyrinth was infinite, a network of choice, consequence, and reflection. Every step forward was not just movement, but a revelation. Every path illuminated was a lesson, every connection a thread in a vast tapestry. She understood, with a quiet certainty, that the journey was both personal and universal. The lantern's glow intertwined with her own understanding, forming a light that was steady, alive, and infinite in its reach. The labyrinth whispered, soft and insistent, carrying promises and challenges alike. The paths of the forgotten are endless, yet each step taken with courage, perception, and awareness illuminates not only the journey ahead but the depth of all who traverse these luminous ways. Alara inhaled deeply, her heart in rhythm with the lantern, and stepped forward into the next unfolding corridor, ready to face revelations, connections, and truths yet unseen. Asterisk.